Overpriced, overhyped, or perfect? As frequent viewers are aware, I rate a product purely on its performance. Some reviewers may give a product 5 out of 5 stars because at a particular price point, there is simply nothing better. Bah humbug, I say. If it sounds like a turd, I will rate it as such. But this product from Noble, the Focus Apollo, did something near and dear to my heart. First, they priced them at $649. $200 more than the Sonos Ace headphones. And while the Focus Apollos are not capable of being used as a Sonos device, well, neither are the Sonos Ace headphones. But Noble did one other thing right. Instead of just naming them the Focus, they added Apollo, clearly endearing themselves to the great god of audiophiles, Apollo, in an attempt to ingratiate themselves with yours truly, the high priest of audio Scientologist. And because my parents have grown bitter towards me over the past few years, I quite enjoyed shoving their face in it when the box arrived. And before anyone dares comment that $649 is overpriced, please first preface your comment below by saying Hi-Fi Man's $18,000 wired-only headphones are a bargain at twice the price, so we really know where you're coming from. So what differentiates these Noble wireless headphones from any other? Well, let's compare it to the Sonos Aces, which sell for $200 less, and from a company whose stock is getting closer to zero every day. And don't say I didn't warn you. I said to short Sonos stock on June 11, 2024, in my video, The End of an Era, when the stock was selling for $15.65. You have made more than 25% in less than a year taking my advice. So when I give it, take it. The worst that can happen is you lose everything or even more. The design of the Focus Apollo is similar to the Ace. They look very similar. But the Focus is simply better built. Higher quality materials are evident as soon as you hold them, put them in your hands, and put them on your head. It comes with a few accessories. A 3.5mm cable, 4.4mm adapter, USB-C cable for charging, a separate mic boom, which is completely optional since they have a built-in mic in the headphone itself. But I guess you're going to go wired for quality, but not go all the way. For comparison's sake, the Sonos Ace only comes with a USB cable for wired playback. The Focus Apollos cannot be played wired with the USB cable, just in case that wasn't clear. Build quality is very nice. The protein leather ear pads, and I'm going to go off on this protein leather crap. Either it comes from cow or it doesn't come from a cow. Or it's some type of leatherette. Protein leather does not come from a cow. Yes, it's soft, it's supple, but it's not as expensive as leather and also not as durable. Okay, getting back on track. I do like the right and left clearly labeled. Unlike the VM1s, which the left and right are clear by design, these wireless headphones can easily be put on backwards. So it's a nice feature. The anodized aluminum frame, memory foam, is good. Substantially better than the memory foam found on the $200 Civca Answers I reviewed. And the headband material is very nice, but I wouldn't call it luxurious. I also love the simplicity of the design, but freaking hate the black on black writing. This is their image from their website. You tell me what it says. It's a microphone mute switch. There's also a red light right about here that turns on about an inch below it between the ear cut and the frame to let you know when it's charging. Also, on the left ear cup on the other side of the USB charging port over here is where you attach the external boom mic. On the right side, where it takes a little time to get used to the button placement, at the top is the ANC, on-off, and transparency. Please note this only works when powered on and you're not using it wired. I thought that would be nice to have a nice feature to be able to use this wired. Allow it to be wired and have ANC, but that'd be cool. But alas, that is not the case. When powering on, it makes a nice little dum-dum sound. and also in powering off. So you don't have to look at them to know if they're on or off. Because the power button has this nice little tactile bump, it's easy to find without looking at it. And because of that little bump out, once you know where that is, you know where volume up and volume down is. One minor issue, while it never caused a problem for me, the 3.5mm adapter doesn't really get tight in here. It never came out, but it doesn't take a lot of effort just to pull it out. I'm not sure how that's going to hold up long term. I would like that just a little bit tighter. As with most wireless headphones, you're going to be using Bluetooth to connect. I say most because I just heard about a pair of Wi-Fi IEMs. The Fokus Apollo does support LDAC, which puts it ahead of some rivals. Sporting a 40mm dynamic and a 14.5mm planar driver, I was interested in how these were going to sound. And with the wireless headphones, it's even more important, in my opinion, to have good sound out of the box, because not every Bluetooth-enabled device has the ability to PEQ. This is the part of the video where you're allowed to comment shill, because they are, in my opinion, the best sounding wireless headphones I've ever heard. But remember, I've only heard 3 others. These Sonos Aces, the Sony WH-1000 XM4s, and the Bose Quiet Comfort, all costing less than these Noble Fokus Apollos. Bass was boomier than I like, but by boomier, I don't mean it wasn't tight. The bass was very tight, just louder than I prefer, which I expect is probably how some of my viewers would actually like the sound. For me, though, I like everything below 200 Hz turned down a few decibels. The sound of these out of the box sounded like they were even boomier than what the Harman target curve calls for in that lower register. Diane Bish's In Agata I Believa, which is a 17-minute masterpiece that has bass transients that often tax even the best speakers and headphones. These Fokus Apollos simply brought the whole song to life, much like my Dan Clark Aeon X's do. But now it was time for Frankie, our lyric baritone who seems to get lost in so many IEMs and headphones that try to follow the Harman target curve. And here, he gets lost, as the drop-off is just too significant for my personal taste. There was no point going further without opening the Noble Fokus Apollo app on my phone and playing around with the 10-band EQ. And sadly, this is not parametric EQ. So while the app is easy to use, I found myself grabbing the FIO JJA11 dongle and using the PEQ feature I had already installed. Once I brought down the bass, Frankie was back to his old self. I was really shocked. And let me explain why I was so shocked. All I had to do was put on one low shelf filter, dropping everything below 175 hertz down about 7 decibels. That one filter, literally one filter, made these headphones the best wireless headphones I've ever heard at any price, and they're the most expensive I've ever heard. But wired or not, these sounded fantastic with that one filter. Sibilance is my next test, using Rebecca Pidgeon's Spanish Harlem. Maybe I heard a bit of sibilance on lower Bluetooth codecs, but using LDAC or wired, there was absolutely none. I can listen all day to Rebecca as she holds down the mid-range like few singers can. But it was time to go higher, and only Bish can get you that high, with a pipe organ that can organically play beyond 16 kilohertz. When Bish, and yes, she's a God-fearing musician, came out with her smash hit Blinding Lights, about being blinded by the light of heaven as you pass into the next life on her platinum-busting Afterlife album, the song instantly tested every hi-fi system's ability to extend to the threshold of our hearing range like no other has ever done. And the Fokus Apollos sang in the treble and extended treble range like no other wireless headphone I've heard to date. And this is important, as many headphones have a smooth response curve that's easily EQ'd, say below 3 kilohertz, but above that, they usually get really funky with a lot of little dips and peaks, but not these. Treble was boosted just the way you want it to be in the upper mid-range, and then begins to just nicely roll off in the presence region and beyond. 60 hours of battery life with ANC on is promised by Noble. Well, that's probably true at lower volume levels because I tested these without putting them on at full volume, and they lasted about 45 hours. In actual use, you should get the specified 60 hours or even beyond. ANC is very good. I still give Bose just the slight edge, but not by much. And my neighbor's generator was literally silenced when I walked by during a power outage while testing these. So the ANC is in the excellent range. And yes, there's a lot more to a headphone than there are a speaker. They have to be comfortable in extended use. Here, my Dan Clark's, which I prefer over-ear headphones rather than on-ear headphones. Now, Noble describes the Fokus Apollos as over-ear headphones, but because I have true golden ears, my ears seem to be a little bit too big to fit over. I have to kind of really work them around. They tended to sit on top a bit, and this caused some discomfort, so I had to really work them around my earlobes. I could kind of use them just a bit to be over ear, but then my earlobe got slightly crushed. So let's look at the size difference between these, the Dan Clark's, and some other headphones. So we first take a look at the Dan Clark Aeon Open Axis, and we can see that they measure about 2 inches across. Height-wise is about 3 inches. It's a pretty nice sized cup. Moving on, we grab the Sonos, a little less than 2 inches, about 1 3/4 width and 2.5 high. Lastly, we move on to the Noble, and you can see again about 1 3/4 inch, about a 1/4 inch short and 2.5 inches high. So the difference is only a 1/4 inch, but as your mom told me the other night, that 1/4 inch makes a big difference. There's a decent amount of pressure from the headband, nothing extreme, and over time, they'll probably loosen up enough to be near perfect. As I mentioned earlier, the memory foam pads are excellent and are replaceable if you have either another preference or you just wear them out. You've got a headphone, a wireless headphone, mind you, that needs nothing more than a single low shelf filter to make the frequency response near perfect. On top of that, you're bringing down the decibel range, not trying to increase it, so the distortion won't be an issue. They play very loud wirelessly, but can get even louder wired without a hair of distortion outside of ear damaging levels. But the ear cups, for me, they just aren't quite as big as I want them. And while button placement is intuitive, the black on black markings is difficult, if not impossible to see. I doubt it's even necessary to give it a rating, as you've probably already guessed the rating yourself. The Noble Fokus Apollos are getting a 2019 Robert Mondavi Napa Pinot Noir for their near-perfect out-of-the-box sound. And for that slight lack of execution in design, a poorly plated beef Wellington. So instead of a beef Wellington that looks like this, you're getting this. It tastes the same, but without the execution of a true pro. I have a tagline I like to use. Why is there no perfect audio equipment, only compromises? Well, Noble gets close to perfecting the wireless headphone, but missed it by that much. I won't bore you with a rehash of the whole video, but remember to subscribe, like, and comment on this video. Your patronage is much appreciated. Have a great day.